ओके, सो दिस इज एन ओवरव्यू अबाउट पेरिटोनियम। उसके लिए हमें पहले जानना पड़ेगा कि अपनी बॉडी में कौन से कैविटीज होते हैं। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, दिस स्काई ब्लू वन दैट यू सी ओवर हियर, दिस इज द पेरिकार्डियल कैविटी। इसमें हार्ट होता है, राइट। दीज पर्पल वंस दैट यू सी ओवर हियर, दे आर द प्लूरल कैविटीज। यहाँ पे लंग होता है। ओके, नाउ एब्डोमेन में पिंक कलर में दिस थिंग दैट यू कैन सी ओवर हियर, दिस इज कॉल्ड द पेरिटोनियल कैविटी। So inside abdomen a cavity is seen which is called the peritoneal cavity. अगर तुम sagittal section में भी देखोगे इसमें, तो you can see it over here in pink color. Okay, then what is peritoneum? Basically peritoneum is the membrane, this thing that lines the peritoneal cavity, that is called as the peritoneum. Okay, now peritoneum जो है उसको अगर तुम माइक्रोस्कोपिकली देखोगे, ओके, सो इफ आई टेक अ सेक्शन ओवर हियर एंड इसको अगर मैं माइक्रोस्कोपिकली देख रही हूँ, आई विल सी वन लेयर on the outside and one layer on the inside. So this outer layer is fibrous. It gives strength to the peritoneum, right? The inner layer, it is lined by mesothelial cells. Now what do these mesothelial cells do? They secrete a fluid. They secrete a serous fluid inside this peritoneal cavity, so that this peritoneal cavity gets filled with fluid, the peritoneal fluid. And what it does is that it suspends these organs, right? ये जो abdominal organs होते हैं, they are present inside your peritoneum. Okay, so these organs, they get some lubrication. So as I said, peritoneum is a large serous membrane that lines the abdominal cavity or the peritoneal cavity. Okay, it has an outer layer and an inner layer. Okay, the outer layer is made up of fibrous tissue which gives strength. Inner layer, it has mesothelial cells. They secrete the serous fluid, and what this serous fluid does is that it lubricates the surface. अभी ये जो ऑर्गन्स है मेरी पेरिटोनियम के अंदर, ओके, इनका जो सरफेस है, ये विसरा बोलते हैं हम इसको, राइट? दे आर विसरल ऑर्गन्स, राइट? तो ये विसरा का जो सरफेस है, दैट गेट्स लुब्रिकेटेड। तो अगर ये विसरा का कोई भी मूवमेंट हो रहा है, तो ये मूवमेंट इजीली फैसिलिटेट होता है बिकॉज ऑफ लुब्रिकेशन ड्यू टू दिस पेरिटोनियल सीरस फ्लूइड। ओके, what else does the peritoneum do? It provides pathways for blood vessels and lymph to travel to and from the viscera. Okay, so अगर मेरा intraperitoneal कोई organ है ऐसा, okay, इसको कुछ blood supply लगेगा, कोई nerve इसके तरफ जाएंगे, तो ये peritoneum से pass through होके जाएंगे. Okay, so that was just an introduction. Now let's see. ये तो मैंने बताया कि outer layer and inner layer, this was microscopically. Now let's see peritoneum divided कैसे है into different parts. Okay, so this section that you see, ये ऐसा section लिया उन्होंने. Okay, this person that is standing, ऐसा section लिया and you are either looking from above or downwards, doesn't matter. Okay, so तुमको ये section दिखेगा, right? इसका ये anterior side है and ये posterior side है. Okay, right and left. Fine. Now ये जो दिख रहा है, ये एक organ का क्रॉस सेक्शन आ गया इसमें, ये विसरा का क्रॉस सेक्शन आ गया. सो व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से इज दैट ये जो ब्लू है ये पेरिटोनियल कैविटी है एंड इसमें ये विसरा सस्पेंडेड है. ओके, इस फोल्ड्स के थ्रू ये विसरा सस्पेंडेड है इनसाइड दिस पेरिटोनियल कैविटी. सो ऐसा नहीं है कि ये पेरिटोनियल कैविटी है, इसमें कोई ऑर्गन्स है एंड दे आर जस्ट फ्रीली फ्लोटिंग. दैट इज इम्पॉसिबल, राइट? दे आर सस्पेंडेड बाय द फोल्ड्स ऑफ पेरिटोनियम. ओके, so now I will just simplify this image to you by explaining it to you. Okay, ये जो बाहर का दिख रहा है ये तुम्हारा एब्डोमिनल वॉल है, राइट? ये मेरा एंटीरियर एब्डोमिनल वॉल है. यहाँ पे अब मसल्स दिख नहीं रहे बट तुम्हारे मसल्स है. यहाँ पे मेरा पूरा रेक्टस शीथ है, राइट? यहाँ पे मेरे ऑब्लिक मसल्स है. ओके, सो दैट इज योर एंटीरियर एब्डोमिनल वॉल, राइट? नाउ ये पेरिटोनियम इज डिवाइडेड इनटू डिफरेंट पार्ट्स. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आई टोल्ड यू कि ये मेरा अगर विसरल ऑर्गन है, विसरा है, तो इसको ये मेरा पेरिटोनियल मेम्ब्रेन ये वाला पार्ट इसको लाइन कर रहा है, राइट? इसके ऊपर ये चिपका हुआ है. सो दिस पार्ट इज कॉल्ड एज द विसरल पेरिटोनियम. ओके, ऑलराइट. नाउ बचा हुआ जो पार्ट है वो ये मेरा एंटीरियर एब्डोमिनल वॉल है या फिर जो भी पोस्टीरियर भी. एब्डोमिनल वॉल को जो लाइन कर रहा है ये पूरा वाला पार्ट, this entire thing that lines the abdominal wall, okay, this is called as the parietal peritoneum. Okay, so ये पूरा बाहर का मेरा parietal peritoneum है, अंदर मेरा visceral peritoneum which lines the viscera, right? now मैं green में तुमको दिखा रही हूँ ये जो है this thing, This is called as a fold of peritoneum. Okay, फोल्ड ऑफ पेरिटोनियम, यहाँ पे उन्होंने मेजेंटरी लिखा हुआ है क्योंकि ये फोल्ड ऑफ पेरिटोनियम जो है इसका नेमिंग हम करते हैं अकॉर्डिंग टू द ऑर्गन दैट इट सस्पेंड्स. नाउ इसको अगर हमने कंसिडर कर लिया कि ये स्मॉल इंटेस्टाइन है, ओके, सो दिस विल बी कॉल्ड मेजेंटरी. एंटेरॉन बोलते हैं इंटेस्टाइन को, सो मेजेंटरी. ओके, इट कुड बी कॉल्ड अ नंबर ऑफ अदर थिंग्स. डिफरेंट फोल्ड्स आर, दे हैव डिफरेंट नेम्स. ओके, सो जस्ट रिवाइजिंग दिस थिंग कि ये पूरा आउटसाइड का, ओके, ये पूरा आउटसाइड का which lines the abdominal cavity is called as the parietal peritoneum. Then this inside which lines the viscera, this is called as the visceral peritoneum. And then what is left is the fold that suspends the organ, okay, that suspends the viscera, that is called as the fold of peritoneum. Okay, यहाँ से as you can see this blood vessel is going towards this part, this is intestine, let's say. Okay, all right, so that is a brief overview. So again I have written it over here. So peritoneum is divided into a parietal layer, which is the outer layer, a visceral layer, which is the inner layer which lines the viscera, and folds of peritoneum by which the viscera are suspended and they are named according to the organ suspended. Okay, moving on. Right, so what is peritoneum? Until now we have learned that it is a closed sac which is invaginated by a number of viscera, a number of organs. So now here you can see ये person को, I made that person stand sideways, इसका यहाँ से ऐसा section लिया, right, and ये जो है ये sagittal section लिया मैंने, and I am looking at it on this side. Okay, so what all will I see? मैंने पहले क्रॉस सेक्शन ट्रांसवर्स सेक्शन पे दिखाया कि पैराइटल एंड विसरल पेरिटोनियम. अभी आई विल शो इट टू यू ऑन द सैजिटल सेक्शन. अभी सैजिटल सेक्शन पे आई कैन सी दिस होल रेड थिंग, ये आउटसाइड में है एंड पीछे भी देखो. ओके, इट लाइंस द एब्डोमिनल wall, right, so that is called as the parietal peritoneum, right, it is on the back side as well. Okay, posterior abdominal wall को भी line करता है parietal peritoneum. Okay, so anteriorly and posteriorly you have parietal peritoneum. Inside, the one that you can see in blue over here, ये कर रहा है, ये liver को line कर रहा है, right. Okay, then ये जो है ये stomach है, ये stomach को encircle कर रहा है, right. This whole thing that you can see, that is the visceral peritoneum. All right, now you can see that these organs are suspended by certain folds, certain things. ये जो है ये fold of peritoneum है, ये fold of peritoneum है. Also this is also a fold of peritoneum between two organs. Okay, so these, even this one, okay, these are all, they are called as the folds of peritoneum and they are named according to the organ. Okay, so until now we have done peritoneum and uske parts, right. Now let's see हर एक का feature. Parietal peritoneum, it lines the inner surface of the abdominal wall. Okay, it is loosely attached, so it can be easily stripped. मतलब इसको easily separate कर सकते हैं. It is very loosely attached. Now ये जो parietal peritoneum है, ये abdominal wall के पास है, right? So it gets its blood supply and nerve supply. It's the same as the abdominal wall. Okay. सो इट हैज सोमैटिक इनोवेशन, क्योंकि स्किन का जो भी इनोवेशन है वो सेम है पैराइटल पेरिटोनियम का, राइट. सो इट इज सोमैटिक इनोवेशन, सो इट इज वेरी मच पेन सेंसिटिव. ओके, moving on to visceral peritoneum. It lines the outer surface of the viscera or your organs, right. It is firmly adherent, it is firmly adherent to the outer surface of that viscera, so it cannot be stripped, it cannot be easily separated. Okay, iska blood supply and nerve supply, it is the same of that underlying organ. Okay, so it is the autonomic innervation, so it evokes pain only when it is the viscera is stretched or the viscera is ischemic or distended, तभी pain evoke होता है in visceral peritoneum. Okay, now ऐसा नहीं है कि all the organs are inside the peritoneum. Some organs you will see behind the peritoneal cavity. Okay, so in this image you can see that this is the liver, right. This liver और ये जो है ये stomach. Okay, ये जो है colon, intestine, all of these things, right, they are suspended by these folds of peritoneum and they are totally inside this peritoneal cavity. That is not the case with this organ, ये जो पीछे दिख रहा है, okay, or this one. Okay, all of these are behind your peritoneal cavity. Okay, so if you take the example of this organ, it is behind the peritoneal cavity, behind this parietal peritoneum. So this organ is called as the retroperitoneal organ. Okay, because retro means behind, right? So this organ is only lined by peritoneum on one side, anteriorly. It is not lined by peritoneum posteriorly. Okay, so that is a retroperitoneal organ. As opposed to this is my stomach. This is totally inside the peritoneal cavity, and it is lined from both sides by peritoneum. So this is an intraperitoneal organ. Okay, so you need to know which ones are intra, which ones are retroperitoneal. Also there's one concept कि कुछ organs जो होते हैं वो पहले intraperitoneal होते हैं, but later on while developing they move on towards the backside, so they become retroperitoneal. Okay, so you need to know which organs those are. Hmm? Okay, so this is just to show you कि abdominal organs है कौन से, right? This thing you can see, this is the stomach, sorry, liver. Okay, this thing ये विजिबली है स्टमक और थोड़ा पोर्शन ये लिवर के पीछे चला गया, राइट? ओके, अदर देन दैट after stomach you'll get duodenum. Okay, and then these loops of intestine, small intestine में you have duodenum, jejunum and ileum. Okay, then you have this large intestine जो periphery में दिख रहा है वो large intestine है. So this is ascending colon, transverse colon and descending colon. They are the part of large intestine. Now which organs are intraperitoneal? Stomach is intraperitoneal, jejunum and ileum are peritoneal. Okay, then colon में that only the transverse colon is intraperitoneal. At least remember this. Now which organs are retroperitoneal? Duodenum is retroperitoneal. Okay, most of it. Pancreas, most of it is retroperitoneal. Both of your kidneys are retroperitoneal and suprarenal glands are retroperitoneal. Okay, and your ureter. In this image you can see ये जो yellow cavity है, that is my peritoneal cavity. Now this organ inside, okay, inside the peritoneum is suspended है by the fold of peritoneum. Okay, this is an intraperitoneal organ. But if you see this organ, okay, this they have written, it is the ascending colon, right? It is only lined by parietal peritoneum only on one side, only anteriorly. Posteriorly it is not lined by parietal peritoneum, right? So this is a retroperitoneal organ. This is a mnemonic to remember which organs are retroperitoneal. So sad, pucker. Okay, as I just told you, peritoneal folds are given names according to the organs that they suspend. ठीक है, पहले एक प्रीफिक्स लग जाता है मिस और मीजो एंड देन द नेम ऑफ द ऑर्गन, राइट? जैसे कि स्मॉल इंटेस्टाइन is called as the enteron, right? So जब fold suspending small intestine is called as mesentery. Okay, now अगर the fold that suspends colon, it is called as mesocolon. Okay, then the folds that are attached to the stomach, they are called as the omentum. So एक fold को हम बोलते हैं omentum. Stomach को दो omenta are attached, the greater omentum and the lesser omentum. This is my stomach. This thing, these are two curvatures of stomach. This thing is called as the lesser curvature of stomach and this thing is called as the greater curvature of stomach. Okay, so ये lesser curvature को जो yellow part attached है, this is called as my lesser omentum. Okay, and in this greater curvature को जो ये yellow part नीचे जा रहा है, like a curtain or cover, right? That is called as the greater omentum. So the peritoneal cavity, it is broadly divided into two parts, right? The greater sac and the lesser sac. So the part which is the main larger part, it is called as the greater sac, and the part which is situated behind the stomach, it is called as the lesser sac or the omental bursa. So I will show you an image. Okay, see, यहाँ पे जो blue में दिख रहा है, that is my lesser sac. Okay, and जो brown में दिख रहा है, that is called my greater sac. ये मेरा stomach के behind I see my lesser sac. Now ये greater sac and lesser sac में एक connection है. This foramen is called as the epiploic foramen. Okay, there are some differences in the peritoneum of males and females, right? So in females the peritoneal cavity communicates with the exterior through the uterine tubes. Okay, also जो ovaries के ऊपर जो peritoneum है, the peritoneum covering the ovaries, it is lined by cuboidal epithelium. This is the difference between the peritoneum of males and females. What are the functions of peritoneum? First of all, I told you for the movements of viscera. हमको free movement चाहिए viscera का. क्यों? Because of peristaltic movement, right? And during respiration, right? Second one is the protection of viscera. So what your greater omentum does is that किसी साइट पे अगर infection हुआ है, okay, or inflammation हुआ है, it goes and seals off that site. Okay, so that is why it is called as the policeman of the abdomen. Other than that, folds के through तुम्हारा peritoneum provides passage for nerves, vessels and lymphatics. Okay, absorption and dialysis is another function. Storage of fat and healing power is, it just means the immunity that it provides. Okay, so these are all the functions of your peritoneum, right? What is the clinical anatomy? If my peritoneal cavity, okay, normally it is filled by peritoneal fluid, right? But there is collection of more free fluid in the peritoneal cavity, we will call that ascites. So यहाँ पे ये जो distended दिख रहा है मुझे, that is ascites, because a lot of fluid is filled in peritoneal cavity. कब कब हो सकता है ascites? What are the causes of ascites? Either cirrhosis of liver या फिर CHF, congestive heart failure, okay, या फिर infective causes such as tuberculosis, मैलिग्नेंट इन्फिल्ट्रेशन ऑफ पेरिटोनियम, मतलब कोई भी मैलिग्नेंसी अगर पेरिटोनियम में आ गई तो, ठीक है. व्हाट इज द मैनेजमेंट ऑफ दिस असाइटिस? पैरासिंटीज. पैरासिंटीसिस मतलब क्या? दिस प्रोसीजर दैट यू सी ओवर हियर, ओके, दे आर टेकिंग द फ्लूइड आउट. ओके, so this is called as the paracentesis. ये ऐसे needle poke करके they will connect a tube to that and take most of the fluid out. Okay, so that will give instant relief to this person, right? If there is presence of air in the peritoneal cavity, that is called as the pneumoperitoneum. Normally, only fluid should be seen in the peritoneal cavity and not air. So, if on X-ray or any other imaging we see air, then why would that be there? So, air is present in stomach or intestine. So, if perforation of any organ occurs, then you will see air in the peritoneal cavity, which is pneumoperitoneum, which is a bad sign. Okay. Then, if inflammation of peritoneum occurs, then that is called as peritonitis. It can either be localized or generalized. Localized मतलब कोई organ का inflammation हो गया, उसके ऊपर का peritoneum का भी inflammation हो गया. Okay, and generalized is the inflammation of whole peritoneum. Okay. Now, अगर कोई organ rupture हो गया, जैसे कि appendix या फिर due to gastric ulcer, stomach में भी rupture हो सकता है. Right, so कोई भी rupture organ के यहाँ पे what your greater momentum does is that it goes and seals off that space. ठीक है, so what it does is it tries to delay the onset of peritonitis. That is why it is called as the policeman of the abdomen या फिर abdominal policeman. Okay, now these are just some dissection images. So here you can see the parietal peritoneum. You have taken the whole anterior abdominal wall away. This is the parietal peritoneum, not this much, only this much. Okay, this is the bladder. ये bladder है नीचे का. Okay, so this is the parietal peritoneum. Okay, when you take off strip of the parietal peritoneum, then you will see something like this. This is your stomach. Okay, this is the greater curvature of stomach, and यहाँ से you see greater omentum like this. And in this image you can't even see any intestinal folds या फिर कोई colon intestine का कोई part कुछ भी नहीं दिख रहा. And this is your liver. Okay, alright, that's it. Thank you.